Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1485, written by So Stupid 246. Writing from the unknown. Something was written on my grocery list that I could not have written ahead of time, and yet there it was in my handwriting, and it's driving me crazy how it got there. Long story short, when I start running low on household things, I start making a list. I will add to it over the next few days, so by the time I get to grocery shopping, the list is almost done. Then the night before, I head to the store. I go on the grocery store app to load any coupons I want or need. So I'm on the app and I see a coupon for Blue Buffalo cat treats. It's not a brand I normally buy, but I load the coupon anyway and figured I'll buy them for my cat. I go to my grocery list to add blue cat treats to the list. Yet my list, which had 15 items written, had the words blue cat treats already written as the third item. I just stared at it, totally confused. It's my handwriting, and since it's the third item written, that means I wrote it several days ago. Again, I never buy this brand. No one else lives with me, so no one else could have written it. I did not go on the app days before to notice the coupon. So I'm completely puzzled as to how I already wrote blue cat treats down. I had absolutely no memory of writing it, and no way of knowing there was a coupon for it. Case also file 1485, writing from the unknown. So let's be honest here. Cats do have special powers. Intellect from the deep dark void, you could say. And they do know what they like. So was this cat somehow mimicking your own handwriting? I wouldn't go that far. In fact, the only thing I can think of is that you somehow sleep wrote this because you remembered buying it and the cat liked it before. It's very strange. Maybe a guardian angel somehow looking out for your cat. Do cats have guardian angels? Well, that's a question. Case file number 1486, written by Pizza247. Did we witness a space-time slip in the park? My husband and I were walking our dog in a very busy and large urban park. We have lived in large cities our entire lives. We are very used to and accustomed to being surrounded by a lot of different types of people. In short, it takes a lot for something to faze us. We've seen a lot. We were along a busy path in this large city park, with a lot of people around, and we had our dog. This man coming walking towards us starts making eye contact with both of us almost immediately. He stops next to us and says, "Hey boss, how's it going?" and puts his hands out to shake our hands. We look at him because he's acting like he knows us, so we're a bit embarrassed. Trying to remember who he is, we hesitate, and then all of a sudden he says, "Why are you stalking me? I keep seeing you guys. Why are you following me?" and says it once or twice more as we quickly walk away from him. We walk past him, and he walks past us, going opposite directions. We make it to a point to wait exactly 5 seconds. I actually count to myself 1 through 5 before I look back to make sure he did indeed go away and isn't following us. My logic was, I wanted to ignore him in case he was dangerous and sort of diffuse it. But I also wanted to make sure he wasn't following us, as he started to get aggressive a bit in his tone. I turn around and he is nowhere to be seen. I mean literally nowhere. I can't exactly describe the area, but it was pretty open. Even if he sprinted in any direction for 5 seconds fast, you would still have seen him at least somewhere. It was also open and there weren't really any trees or things he could hide behind. I'm sure you may be reading this thinking he was a crazy on the street that can be found in any city. Here's what we found really jarring. Maybe not each thing separately, but put together. He was dressed extremely well. Yes, I know, those with mental illness and or those living on the street can look quite presentable. I'm not trying to be rude, but he looked wealthy, like old money wealthy. Super preppy and well dressed, about mid-50s, almost awkwardly tall, maybe 6'6". People have screamed at us before on the street, and I've never seen this put together. Again, not impossible, just a bit odd honestly. He was so sure in his conviction that he knew us, and we were stalking him. The look in his eyes was terrifying. I can't exactly describe it, but he seemed just so sure. We have no idea who he was, and no one looked at what was going on, which by itself wasn't odd. People in my city ignore people shouting and antics all the time without a care in the world, for better or worse. But when I tell you everyone around didn't even glance in our direction. People may ignore what's going on typically, but they'll walk the other way, not into whatever is going on. Moreover, plenty of dogs within sight didn't even seem to look at this man screaming. He had a bizarre, surprising accent. Again, not by itself odd, but adds to the weirdness. I believe it was Russian. He vanished. Both me and my husband turned around after 5 seconds and agreed he was nowhere to be found. There was nowhere logically for him to be found. We realized after the fact that he appeared seemingly out of nowhere when he was walking towards us. Anyway, this was so odd. It's like he appeared out of nowhere from a different time and was so sure in his conviction, to the point where we were both like, was he at the coffee shop we were both at earlier? Did we indeed walk the same way to the park? That doesn't make sense. He was walking towards us. It's really hard to describe over text. But he appeared as quickly as he left, and no one around us seemed even remotely bothered. We've had people on the street chase us, threaten us at knife point, throw bottles at us. We've been called homophobic slurs multiple times. Quite frankly, this was just as freaky if not scarier than all of those. All due to the fact that I can't come up with an explanation, especially for the vanishing. My husband is a science guy, and he believes in absolutely nothing that isn't evidence-based. He's sort of my skeptical pulse for things, but I can tell even he was completely thrown off. Question to file 1486. Did we witness a space-time slip in the park? This is a story that I could believe is some elaborate prank, mainly because it's not about revealing it to the person that is pranked. It's about Instagram and TikTok clout, where people are doing that these days. They're twisting people's minds, but never even telling them about it. No, they just go on about their day. I like those kinds of pranks when the person being pranked is told. Otherwise, you're just messing with their brain for views, which is kind of mean, isn't it? Mess with their mind a bit, but then make sure they know your mind's okay. Now, if it is a man stuck out of time or out of phase with this universe, that's also possible. We have all kinds of parallel universe visits that are transient, and people get confused when coming over initially. It is almost like being out of phase with the universe you're in now, because you're not from it. And now time for the quote of the day. What some people mistake for the high cost of living is really the cost of high living. Doug Larson. Okay, so I think there's truth to both sides in that, yes, the cost of living is rising pretty quickly because of inflation, the Federal Reserve, there's so much more currency in the economy now. You can see the chart of the M2 money supply on the Federal Reserve website. St. Louis, I believe. Anyways, you can see it spike up. Now, part of that I think is because of how they started counting it, but there's still a dramatic increase, even in the last 5 years, especially after the pandemic and all that. Whatever your thoughts are on that, it's very clear that there was a lot of money printed or digitally created and infused into the economy. And when you have a bunch of money, new currency printed like that, minted, well, if people use it, then prices will rise. Now, sometimes there's a delay because people don't immediately use it. And when it's created, sometimes it stays in the stock market and investment and all that. Banks use it first. Whoever uses it first gets the full value of it. Then it trickles out to everyone else eventually. And then prices rise, especially things that people use a lot, like rent and utilities, food, all that kind of stuff, gas, insurance, etc. At any rate, not to get too boring with the dry economics, needless to say, prices are rising, but also, there are ways to mitigate that. If you live more simply, make your food at home. If you go out to McDonald's or Uber Eats, your bill for food is going to be astronomical. But if you eat at home, it's not so bad, especially if you eat mostly whole foods. Get lots of potatoes, rice, beans. If you're going to eat meat, try to eat infrequent and get the good quality stuff. Now, that is more expensive, but it's better for you. It's better for the animals too, so there's that. There are steps to take, and I wouldn't say it's exactly high living, but yeah, it's all about relativity, right? Relative to what we're used to, it's normal living. But say relative to 50 years ago, 70 years ago, no, it's even modest living today is high living compared to back then. I've seen this Amazon pod that you can buy, a home for $20,000 that ships in a giant, almost like cargo container. But it is a real home and it actually unfolds out into like, I don't know, I think it was 300 or 400 square foot. So if you buy rural land for $20,000 for an acre, you can probably get cheaper than that. Then the home, then get a compost toilet, some wood, chop down your own firewood, get some solar panels, batteries. For $50,000 clear, you have your own home paid off, no mortgage, nothing. And yeah, it's not luxury, but you have your own base of operations that no one can take from you. Isn't that the dream? And you can build on it over time. So you don't have to start in a conventional home that's $300,000, $400,000 now. No. Think smaller and think in incremental steps. You don't have to do a giant home initially. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.